now it's just some time to spend some time with my family and spend some time with, my kids. And,
Hello.
Hi, Vivi. I can't hear you. Said hi, Vivi.
Hi.
It's my little angel. Get some time with her and we had waffles together this morning, which is really nice. And you know what? I think as I've gotten older, I think the best part is football is extremely important in my life, and it means a lot to me. And I care a lot about what we're trying to accomplish as a team, and I care a lot about my teammates. And the biggest difference now that I'm older is I have kids now too, and I care about them a lot as well. And, they've been my biggest supporters. My wife is my biggest supporter. It pains her to see me get hit out there. And, she deserves what she needs from me as a husband, and my kids deserve what they need from me as a dad. I'm going to spend some time with them and give them what they need, because they've really been giving me what I need the last 6 months to do what I love to do. And, I said this a few years ago, it's what relationships are all about. It's not always what I want. It's what we want as a family. And, I'm going to spend a lot of time with them and then, figure out in the future what's next.
I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm ready for the children's book. That's how I'm ready for the Brady children's book. KJ Late Night here on WEEI. The Harbor One hotline is 617-779-7937 or the text line 37937. We'll get to some of your recipes de blizzard here shortly. So the word came down per Jason LaConfora. We'll get to the Brit in a little bit. That sources close to him and to Tom Brady are saying that within the next several days, Tom Brady's going to announce his retirement. And I thought he would probably wait until the summer. But as this came down, the more I thought about it, it's like, why have that distraction where he can immediately be dad? Just be dad. Go for ice cream. Well, not here, but, go for ice cream. And now all the different stuff that was said before about I love New England, but the weather, and people huffed and puffed about that. But he's thinking about raising his kids.
I don't know how that's a sticking point for some people.
Well, because sports sometimes will have the fan believe that they literally have stock in you. Like they literally have called a broker and have put invested. Now you might, I bought tickets and everything like that. Yeah, but that also helped out with player personnel, right? And you're not screaming about who the player personnel is or who brings the towels back and forth.
It's only accurate if you're a Green Bay Packers owner.
But even that, they only offer that once every 5 years, right? So, yeah, I think I missed my window. I would have bought my father one of those if I'd known before the window had closed. He's a Packers fan, but it gives me a chance to laugh at him. But with Brady, you can just hear it in his voice there, where he's talking that's from Man in the Arena. And I think more is going to come out when they do that final 10th episode that they've held on to, because there have just been so many signs. But I think what you hear in Brady's voice is, I've given my all to this game, and we all know his story, and we've all been there since day one. And now he's able to put that energy into something that he knows is going to pay him back unconditionally. I think if there was one thing that the fan here in New England wanted to show Tom, that he is unconditionally loved. There's no question about it. I can hear a person bark say, Tom thinks it's all about him and everything else. It's like, look, you don't make fun of the wife that was faithful to you for 20 years and then they leave because you've been philandering. They're still a good person. They're not bad because they left. You just didn't provide the things that they wanted, and they decided to walk off and leave. But I think as time goes on, I think especially him being able to have the game in Foxborough and not it being the bloodbath that some people were thinking it was going to be, as bad as the Patriots were looking at the time, I think even good for Tom's psyche was that game was competitive, and it came down to a final kick to determine who was going to win. So I think, a lot of those personal, emotional football doors, Tom is able to just say, I wipe my hands. And I think there's probably even a part of Tom that says, well, good for Bill and them. They got to the playoffs this year with the rookie, right? So now that's one less narrative that has to be pushed and manipulated in front of people, and Tom versus Bill, and where I always thought it was really Bill versus himself having to look in the mirror. Like, dude, you're the greatest coach in the world, but you got a lot of work to do as a GM. And what do you know? First time ever gets an executive award, right? So things are moving forward. And I think in part of the moving forward narrative, it's important for Tom to know that he can move forward with his own household, that they don't have to worry about waking up to a sore dad who might have to lay in bed a little longer, or who has to get to practice, or at one point having one of his coworkers living in the home at the same time. So I even thought the Antonio Brown situation was kind of a window into maybe Tom saying, you know what, I can't come back to this insanity. And it could be why Bruce Arians suddenly seemed to just started acting out. He knows that, hey, I've had Tom for 2 years and won a championship because of this guy, and made a decent playoff run. You wish you would have gone further, but even what you did last year, going on the road and winning, beating Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and I forgot who the other one they beat. Oh, I can't remember who it was. But to beat 2 Hall of Famers on the way to a Super Bowl last year, you've gotten your money's worth out of Tom Brady there in Tampa. If you sat there and told me that, hey, did they get their $50 million out of Tom Brady? There's somebody in Dallas tapping you on the shoulder saying, our $50 million guy can't even hand the ball to the referee so we could stop the clock. And Tom's already delivered you a Super Bowl.
That's why it's so crazy when he hit free agency, how few teams seemed interested.
Well, because they knew that probably in Tom's mind he would only sign a 2-year deal. And these teams probably needed more, right?
But what more do you need than win now? You're like you just mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys, they've been trying for so long now, and they just can't seem to get it right if you have the opportunity.
But the Cowboys are about control. You're Tom Brady. You're not going to go to the Cowboys and have Jerry Jones or Jerry Christ superstar. You're not going to just kind of push Tom Brady around and say things off the cuff just because you're the owner. Tom Brady was too intelligent to even walk into that Dallas situation. The San Francisco situation, it would have just seemed a lot more petty in terms of okay, is he doing this to get back at Jimmy G? And what if they don't win coming out? Do you really want to face Aaron Donald twice? Seattle still had some semblance of a defense, at least that first year, last year, the previous year. So, he made the right choice. He went to a division that already had 2 weak teams in it, in Atlanta and Carolina. So that tells you who your opponent is. And think about it. Even Tom in Tampa really couldn't beat New Orleans. He just only beat them when it mattered. He wasn't beating them up during the regular season. So even that didn't matter. But moving forward, and when you got the whole band to come back together, you probably are letting them know, don't sign 1-year deal. Don't sign more than a year because I'm not going to be here again. Chris Godwin's probably going to go into free agency where he can get a gob of money. And it's going to be the Mike Evans show featuring Kyle Trask. Who knows? And that's why Bruce Arians was probably acting out in front of all of us in real time, firing Antonio Brown on the sidelines. Let's get off Antonio Brown quit. He got fired on the sidelines, right? And then, you smack a player in the helmet and you get fined $25K off of something the next week. You're just saying it's unraveling. And Tom says, you know what? I got kids, like you said in the bit. I got to make waffles for my kids the other day. That may sound very simple to you and I. I understand it. Full disclosure, when I came back to Boston to do mornings for another station here in the market, my family had stayed back in North Carolina. Thankfully they're here now, but I knew what it was like to spend goodbyes in airports and seeing my child grow from a distance because I was putting in work for something that I believed in. And, as a service, Tom Brady saw football as a service to people, to both the brotherhood and to the towns, to New England. Look, sports talk radio does not exist as we know it if there's no Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. You know what sports talk was before that? A bunch of guys talking about rotisserie leagues in their basement sounding like Dungeons and Dragons. And, Matt, I'm just telling you, this guy is going to be – he wants to write a children's book. It's going to be a bestseller.
Oh, I believe it. Look, I mean, I don't have kids, like you said. You have a perspective on it.
Yes.
I don't have kids. I'm in my mid-20s, but the way I look at it is compared to other athletes, where Jason Tatum's going to have a high school age kid when he's in his early 30s. That's a hard decision. Do I play for another 5 years? Don't even see him go to college. It makes it a lot harder when you have the kids earlier in your career. But Tom he's got Ben and Vivi, and he's 44, and they're not even high school age. So he could call it a career after 20 years, the best career ever, and still be able to healthily observe his kids go through the most important time of their life. So it's a lot different for him than it is other athletes.
Yeah, KJ here, late night on WEEI, 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. Right now, we're getting some pretty interesting dishes coming in. We'll get to those in about 15 minutes in terms of like what you prepare for this blizzard. That is, I mean, even if it misses a little, it's still going to be a lot. We'll get into that. But, I mean, you're absolutely right. Here's the thing, and even people say, well, Brady would be perfect for the booth. And I'm thinking, yeah, Tom is not interested in being on the road every week, being in meetings with players and coaches and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, I bet you Tom Brady will show up and make a guest appearance on a Nickelodeon broadcast and bring his kids and have them up there, and they're running around and having the time of their life at the game. That's the area that Tom Brady, I think, wants to now be the GOAT. He wants to be the GOAT of home, because right now the Mount Rushmore in the Brady household right now is all Giselle buses, all four of them. Giselle. Tom's like, I got to get a face up there. I mean, if she has two faces, that's cool, but I got to get at least one of my faces up here as dad, because think about it. You're married to one of the most beautiful women in the world whose job was to be a supermodel. And any supermodel will tell you that time is not on your side. So to have someone like that by your side who sacrificed who they were and what they've been to help support you, oh, I'm Tom Brady. I'm going home. Who makes the better pancakes, huh? Let's put it up here on the board. Like, shift that competition. Watch how dad does his thing by putting his bacon in the oven, and mom has been putting it on the stove, and you guys tell me who's the better bacon maker, because what that does is create unchangeable memories. The same way he's done it on the field, he's going to do it at home, and God bless the guy.
You're forgetting, KJ, though. What are those pancakes and bacon made of? Does it really matter who's making them when it's like tofu bacon? And
well, I mean, if depending on who's over at the house, you'd be like, "Hey, Alex, stop putting that powder in my pancakes. This is kids' time." Kids don't need TB12; they are of TB12.
Having a fistful of nuts for breakfast and like a piece of celery for lunch.
No, because this is where he's going to say, you know what? They've seen Daddy. While they're eating a meal at the table, Dad's got some type of shake and books in front of him, or he's watching, it's not like all the right moves, but he's got like a tablet in front of him, and he's studying at the table, and he's just super hyper focused on what's coming. He gets to put that stuff down. He says, yeah, put extra butter and syrup on there. Why not? Just make sure you drink a lot of water with it, Tom, when you're home, because, he's not going to turn around and eat the junk food stuff. But at the same time, he gets to do these things with his kids. Like I said, when I watched the Nickelodeon broadcast of the 49ers Dallas game, I said, you know what? The NFL has figured out how to get these kids going. You don't believe they're not saying, hey, Tom, why don't you and the kids stop by for like 3 games a season? Pick where you want to go. We'll do a game in New England just so you can come back up, and we'll do we'll talk to have the kids talk to you. Your kids sit next to you. And I bet you more people watch that broadcast of the game than they would watch the real-time broadcast. Oh, especially if Gumbel's doing it too. He passed it to John Hanna. You couldn't even pass it to John Hanna. We talk about Gumbel. But I am so happy for Tom. If there's an area I can fully relate is when you can now have the ability to fully engulf yourself with your family, with the people who love you unconditionally. Like he was saying, he's just saying, like his wife it's really hard for her to see him take hits because she knows, and what I've been thinking, the longer he's in there, the worse this story can physically get. I think, when I talked about this maybe about an hour or so ago, I said, you would rather see Tom Brady go out in almost making another amazing comeback than to go down with an injury and say, well, wow, like, gosh, you hate for him to go out that way. Because the way those players the way they think. I happen to know a couple of them who performed at a very high level. They come from usually from a situation of where they remember by name the people who told them no in the beginning, and just talk about how they just showed all of those people. And when the movie ended, they wanted to show like they're the horse, they're the one on the horse riding out on the sunset, not someone else dictating that. Though the one person I know who did that then decided to go back and play and become an owner. I'm like, oh, dude, you should have just stuck to that move on buying Russell. I digress. But Tom Brady, if he does announce within the next few days, that shows you how quick he is to get to being the GOAT at home. And deservedly so. His family deserves it so much. Do you have that Aaron Rodgers cut nearby? Because I want to show a contrast. If you have that Aaron Rodgers cut at him after the game last Sunday, kind of mulling over what it looks like in the future and what he's going to do later. If you have that nearby, Matt, just let me know when you do.
Yeah, I'll look for it right now. That's a good.
Okay. Because there's the other side of a guy who you can kind of see operates in a field of loneliness. Aaron Rodgers. That, okay, yeah, if I play again next year, I might want to trade, I might retire, but I'm going to let them know before free agency starts. Where Aaron Rodgers, if he retired today, no one would say, oh, you had a horrible career. Sometimes when there's nothing at home, all you do is chase work. All you do is chase work. Aaron Rodgers will be that person that once football is over is probably going to be trying to angle for a job doing football. It's his life. I get it. But the stories have told you. The things that matter the most in this world, when it's circling around Aaron Rodgers, haven't really gotten the best marks. He said, here's Aaron Rodgers after the loss to the 49ers.
There are a lot of decisions to be made and, key players, a lot of guys who played tonight, Brad Z coming back, Whitney coming back from a torn bicep. It's incredible. The contributions we got from Dennis Kelly were outstanding. Obviously, Devontae is the best receiver in the league, and he's free agent, although they could obviously tag him. Alan Lazard, Robert Tunyon, so many guys' contracts are up or on the brink or salary cap stuff. So a lot of decisions to be made. I don't want to be a part of a rebuild if I'm going to keep playing. So a lot of decisions, in the next couple months.
How the contrast, as painful as it was to see Tom leave New England, he wasn't like, I don't want to be here for the rebuild. He was under contract. He played through his contract. Aaron Rodgers still has 2 years left on his deal with the Packers and is telling them, I want out of here. That's because it's a lonely man. Let's just call it what it is. And so here you hear from Tom Brady say, I have children. I have people who unconditionally love me. I have an incredible wife. I have things in this world that matter. I'm a big Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie guy. Like, I really like the law of attraction stuff. And what you start to learn, especially if you're in some type of field of entertainment or show, because that's what football is. That's what sports is, entertainment. Just that, it has to be on the legitimate up and up, so you can't fake it. It's not like wrestling. But even that is a form of entertainment. That can go anytime. And if you don't have that balance, you could be there saying, look, I don't want to be part of a rebuild.
I don't want to be a part of a rebuild.
And yet you forget the fact that you're blessed to play the game and that you're first ballot Hall of Famer. You have won a Super Bowl. So I could see if Aaron Rodgers was like, look, I won a Super Bowl before I get out of here. He's pretty much just saying, no, I just want to get out of here.
Do you think he sees Brady retire and he gets jealous?
Oh, there's so many things he gets jealous of. I don't even think he's super happy that Patrick Mahomes has State Farm commercials as quick as he does. And I don't, there's nothing, I'm saying that from an entertainment perspective. I probably should clarify that. But my point being with that is he's thinking like, oh my gosh, this guy just wins a championship yesterday and he's getting the commercials. And but my thing is, and I said this to some friends of mine, I said, they were wondering like, well, why isn't Tom Brady getting the blowback the same way that Aaron Rodgers is? I said, because Aaron Rodgers' bus seems to stop at the same spot every year. Like the bus doesn't move. Like, okay, yeah, I can wake up and say, oh, the Packers are going to have the best. They're going to have the best record in the NFC. They'll have a week off and then lose the following week. It's like clockwork. And Aaron Rodgers has been there the whole time. And so, like here you're saying, well, I don't want to be part of a rebuild. Well, if I'm Green Bay, I was like, I don't want to be part of some guy who still has $79 million left on their contract for the next 2 years, who can't get the bus. He can't get the bus from Brighton to Watertown. Just take Arsenal. Get on Arsenal Street. Go that way. He's done it once. And it wasn't very far off of the years after Brett Favre had done it. And so I've always said that, part of Aaron Rodgers' issue is because he grew up in kind of what's the word I'm looking for? A dysfunctional environment with the Green Bay Packers coming in. We sat on the bench for 3 years. Like, could you imagine this version of Aaron Rodgers having to wait 3 years for something? He's done it before, but he had no cash. He had no cachet in this. He had no skin when you'd never been in a game. And now here with 2 years left, and after everything you put the franchise through earlier at the beginning of the season, you kind of threw your coaching staff under the bus. Denver is now playing a dangerous dancing game like, hey, if we go get his offensive coordinator, you think he'd come to Denver? Man, no. No. I think perfect what would be for Aaron Rodgers would be Nashville. The lifestyle there kind of fits Aaron Rodgers' attitude. It kind of does fit it a little bit. They will fully embrace him. It's a big music city. Some of his personal beliefs are kind of in line with, he wouldn't be a man on an island in that area in some of his thoughts. And he can steal the number 12. Derrick Henry has 2 years remaining on his deal. A.J. Brown is come up on the last year of his rookie deal. You can make a decision if you want to keep Julio Brown. You can cut him and save $10 million. Now you're like, well, how do you get him there? Well, there's only $5 million difference between the 2 years remaining on Aaron's contract and the 2 years remaining on Tannehill's contract. You don't think Green Bay will be fine with happy-go-lucky Tannehill up there for a couple years? Recontrol the narrative, not feel like they're held hostage? Tannehill's not holding anybody hostage. He's probably ready to get out of Nashville. Like, man, in a town that drinks, I don't know if I want served drinks to me. All right. We'll wrap it up here. Late night on WEEI. Get some more insight into this weather that's coming. Hang out, and thank you for hanging out.
Did you know Amazon